his entire family following a domestic squabble.
The cells which have been infected with HPV, which are on the pathway to become cancer, can be killed if they are subjected to this medicine.
And researchers announce a cure for early-stage cervical cancer. Plus, daytime alcohol blow shocker for motorists.
The county will have to have an interest in those passes, so that the county can dictate who drives those passes, who is the tout, and then it can instill discipline.
And Nairobi County to tender for mass public transport.
This is KTN Prime with Nancy Kachungira and Ben Kitili.
Good evening from the Standard Group Center here in Nairobi, and welcome to KTN Prime.
Yes, hello and welcome. Our sign language interpreter this evening is William Silla. Now, a village in Muhoroni is still in shock after a 35-year-old man killed his wife and his 2 children before hanging himself.
The tragic events are said to have followed a quarrel between the man and his wife last night. KTN's Najma Ismail begins our coverage tonight from Kisumu County.
This is where the lifeless body of 35-year-old Mwindi Mbango was found dangling this morning. A few meters away, 3 more bodies were lying along River Mutwala in Muhoroni. It all started with a family brawl last night, soon after Mbango's wife came home from work. Neighbors say Mbango and his wife had been quarreling for quite some time over claims of infidelity. So the man of the house decided to end his anguish by wiping out his family.
Kitu yenye ilitustua sisi kama kaji hapa hivi, tulistuka kama kuna suppliers wa maji walikuwa wanachukua maji hapo mtoni. Sasa kuchukua maji yeye akaona jamaa amehang kwa mti na mti kingine hapo hivi. Penye alianga hapo hivyo, sasa kuita watu kupatikana tena kuna mtoto msichana ndani ya maji hapo pia. Sasa watu kuja hapa kwa hii boma kuangalia hakuna watu. Sasa watu wakachokora hiyo maji, ndio wakapata kuna mtoto mdogo tena wa miezi 10 hivi.
Initial reports allege that Mbango poisoned his wife and 2 children aged 10 and 1 before dragging and dumping the bodies in the river, which is about 50 meters from his home. Then he took his own life. Apparently, this was not the first time that Mbango had attempted to kill his family.
This same person had a quarrel with his wife, and he was trying to kill the other 4 children in River Nyano, and he was apprehended and taken to Koru police. He was taken to court, and then he was taken to the probation officer, who gave him a leave of reporting every week.
The 4 bodies have since been taken to Nyanza Provincial Hospital. Najma Ismail, KTN.
Truly a senseless tragedy, but let's go to some better news now. And there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel for cervical cancer patients. It's definitely good news for them, as experts right here in Nairobi announced the discovery of a cure for cervical cancer. Now, the research was conducted at the Kenyatta National Hospital, and it involved 40 women who were said to have been cured in 3 months.
Cervical cancer is the 3rd most common cancer in women worldwide, with 530,000 new cases and 275,000 deaths annually. According to World Health Organization, cervical cancer ranks as the 2nd most common cancer among women in Kenya, with 25 women in 100,000 affected. Mortality rates of cervical cancer are high due to lack of awareness, inadequate diagnostic facilities, lack of treatment facilities, high cost of treatment, and high poverty index. This could now be a case of the past. Experts say they have now found a cure for cervical cancer that is expected to change the fate of cervical cancer patients. 2 doctors from the University of Manchester Institute of Cancer, in collaboration with the Kenyatta National Hospital, were involved in a research for a cure that has delivered impressive results.
Studies done in the laboratory had indeed shown quite clearly that the cells which have been infected with HPV, which are on the pathway to become cancer, can be killed if they are subjected to this medicine.
40 women, all suffering from cervical cancer, were each treated with 1 capsule of the antiviral drug twice a day for 2 weeks during the research. Repeat tests during the research showed improvement. The treatment was done for 3 months, after which an overall positive response was seen in 91.2% of the patients who had received treatment.
Through this process, then we have been able to demonstrate from a clinical perspective that research done in the laboratory can be now translated to a clinical practice. And our phase 1 study, which was meant to find when the ladies put the tablet there, can they tolerate it? Can it cause problems? Right? And that was the initial question we wanted to answer. Is this medicine safe to be administered through that route?
After I have given you full information on the research activity and you have understood and you have asked all the questions you want to ask, you will give permission. This is what we call giving informed consent.
According to the experts, the historic discovery will benefit many who suffer the burden of cancer, but encourage many to go for screening, as early detection will help in treatment. Angel Katusia, KTN.
Good news there. And let's now take you back in the Nairobi County. And if you like to have one for the road, or take one as you wait for the traffic to ease, then you may want to reconsider. Traffic police officers with the now infamous alcohol or breathalyzers are setting up surprise checkpoints during the day. KTN's Edith Kimani was at one of the roadblocks where several people were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol.
In broad daylight and strategically positioned on both sides of Mombasa Road, there was no running from the inevitable police check. Police officers are weeding out traffic offenders, specifically drunk drivers. The first test is a casual greeting, where the officers tactfully determine if the driver's breath is indicative of more. Those who pass step 1 are left to go. Those who do not,
1.50. Yes, a total of 7 as at now, but the operation is still on. But we are hoping to arrest more.
Statistics from the traffic department suggest that road carnage has declined by 28% since the reintroduction of the breathalyzer. These surprise daytime alcohol roadblocks, it is hoped, will push this number further down.
As soon as we have the gadgets, this operation will be countrywide. So it is not day and night, not Nairobi alone.
Traffic police officers are hoping that by putting up these spontaneous checks, they will deter drunk driving at whatever time of day. They are also hoping to apprehend culprits who have found clever and innovative ways of slipping through their fingers. With relatively predictable checkpoints and the increasingly popular alcohol watch on social media, drunk drivers have for a time been able to evade arrest at night. There have also been reports of temporary drivers being hired for as low as 200 shillings in nightclubs to drive past the police checks.
We will catch up with them. We will catch up with them because we have also our intelligence on the ground, and we will soon catch up with them.
Alcohol has proven a polarizing subject, with its supporters throwing their full weight behind it and opposers going to court in an attempt to suspend its use. Any such attempts have so far been thrown out of court, with police officers saying they're planning to get more breathalyzers, which would see more of these surprise roadblocks sprouting throughout the country. Edith Kimani, KTN, Mlolongo.
There's a nation that is not going away anytime soon, and Kenyans are coming up with ways of getting the alcohol.
I have to say that is really creative. Temporary drivers.
Yeah, to just drive you past those roadblocks. And that is the basis of our big question tonight. And we're asking you, do you think the use of alcohol is helping in the fight against road carnage?
That's right. Let us know what you think. They say the numbers, actually the number of road carnages have gone down by 28% since alcohol was reintroduced. So let us know what you think by tweeting us. Our handles are at Kachungira for myself, at Ben_Kitili for Ben, and also add at KTN Kenya to that. We'll be looking at the poll result towards the end of the bulletin, of course, and be giving you some of the comments as well. Now let's go to county matters. Governors now want all monies devolved to the counties placed in one basket. KTN Samogina now tells us that there is no let-up in the governor's battle with MPs over the control of funds.
It is a symbol of national unity, but one that has divided the country's key leadership institutions. It is a symbol of power that is at the center of a power struggle. Parliament's move to have governors strip the national flag but fly distinct county flags has sparked outrage. Governors claim Parliament's move will divide the country.
We have to watch the direction our country is taking. We should be aware of certain things that were happening about a year ago. You had some places like Mombasa coming up with strange declarations. You can have a proliferation of such things.
The National Flag, Emblems and Names Amendment Bill, now at its second reading stage in the National Assembly, is aimed at clipping governors' powers, stripping them of the title His Excellency and having them fly distinct county flags. But in a rebuttal, governors say the flag is a national symbol of pride and unity, and no one in their right mind should deny any Kenyan such a right.
I think better sense should prevail on those issues, but not so much because governors feel that the flag is so critical for them. What is critical for us is our ability to deliver a service. It's more critical for us to be sure that there are resources in the counties.
As governors prepare to celebrate 1 year of devolution, the takeoff of the concept is still bedeviled by power struggles on who is superior.
Even if Parliament passes it, we'll wait to see whether the President can actually assent to such a thing, because that will be inimical to the very statehood in which he is head of.
The county chiefs have recoiled on the county government amendment bill that seeks to create county development boards. The bill reducing governors' executive powers to mere secretaries of the board, while senators and members of parliament will sit on the board. The county bosses say development funds in the counties should be consolidated.
To stop duplicating development issues, we are saying all the money in development, Uwezo, Wazee, Wamama, CDF, be brought under this board. And on the first day of the board sitting, they will elect a chairman. Then we can run one united development approach to the whole Republic of Kenya.
Despite the challenges in anchoring devolution, governors have planned a nationwide celebrations for 1 year of devolution to be launched Friday at Bomas of Kenya. Samugina, KTN.
Let's stay with devolution and money matters, and women members of parliament representing the counties. Those we know as women representatives now want control of at least one type of devolved funds to ensure they have some way of exercising power on the ground. KTN's Asha Mwelu is on that bit, and she found out the women reps want a kitty similar to the Constituency Development Fund.
Affirmative action. That's what the Constitution calls it. And thanks to it, Kenya can today boast of having 65 women MPs in the National Assembly, 19% of the 350-member House, and 18 women in the Senate, which is 26% of the upper house. Each county has a special member of parliament sitting in the National Assembly, the women representative. But these county MPs now say that sitting for legislative matters in the House is barely enough. Now they have fresh demands.
So far we have made efforts to actually try to solicit funds from the national government. We have prepared a bill called the Affirmative Action Social Development Bill.
The women reps are asking for 3.4 billion shillings annually to cater for their development projects in the counties.
We are looking into a situation of going to initiate very, very light industries. Take, for example, of weaving and for women, making soap.
But this proposal has already hit a brick wall. Last Thursday, Parliament's Budget Committee discussed their Affirmative Action Social Development Bill. The county MPs staged a walkout of the House.
The women of this country have had nothing. I think we are saying enough is enough. This year, we are not going to support a budget in which the women of this country have no role and have no funds.
Their tantrums, however, failed to make an impact.
A debate arises as to the fact that there are so many members of parliament and that in future we need to see how to reduce. You quickly hear the fact that, why are they there in the first place?
Their concerns have now driven them to seek advice from the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution. CIC says the women have some valid points.
You are equal members like every other. I don't think the Constitution has said that those who come in by virtue of affirmative action positions are lesser members.
But the Commission appears not as keen on the special kitty the women reps are seeking.
CIC position remains that members of parliament should not be involved in implementation programs.
We are not even going to be like governors. Nobody will summon us. We will be happy, we will use the money well, but we do need the fund to pass.
Article 95(1) of the Constitution states that the National Assembly represents the people of the constituents and special interests. This means that the 290 constituency MPs, the 47 women representatives, and the 12 nominated MPs all have the same role to play. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
Next, an update on the Matatu strike situation. The Nairobi County government will next week advertise tenders for a mass transit system to address traffic congestion and check the Matatu menace.
This is aimed at cushioning commuters from inconveniences caused by Matatu cartels. KTN's Patrick Kamemo reports.
After blocking roads and forcing commuters to walk long distances to work, the Matatu operators resumed operations in full swing to recover lost revenue. The Nairobi County government says Wednesday's Matatu strike not only provided useful lessons on the folly of leaving public transport to private individuals, but also added impetus for an urgent reorganization of public transport. The county government revealed there have been ongoing talks to introduce a bus rapid transit system in order to avoid traffic congestion.
We have identified 9 corridors where we are going to create special lanes for buses. We are not going to be blackmailed and be rendered like we are cornered. No. Now the county will own a transport system. The county will have to have an interest in those buses so that the county can dictate who drives those buses, who is the tout, and then it can instill discipline.
A bus-based mass transit system is a high-capacity urban public transit system with its own right-of-way, dedicated lanes, multiple car vehicles, longer stop spacing, and busways separated from traffic. Matatu operators claim the county government is seeking to fleece them after it increased parking charges without consultations. But the county executive in charge of transport maintains the operators are not sincere.
There was a stakeholders forum, nobody, including them, nobody raised any question about it. After it was enacted, they went to court.
The Nairobi County government says all Matatu operators have complied with the new levies, except for SACCOs, which have been infiltrated by a cartel that want the levies suspended.
The governor can now only intervene through the Waivers Act, the Tax Waivers Act, which is already our law enacted. If you were to allow this, then you have to refund all those who obeyed the law.
At the Kenyatta International Conference Center grounds were 111 taxis that had their number plates removed by the police. Cabinet Secretary for Transport Michael Kamau said all Matatu and taxi operators involved in blocking roads will be punished, including cancellation of operating licenses for SACCOs under which the vehicles operated.
We want the court to address this issue. We want these vehicles to be released because there is no way you can remove somebody's car number plate. That is very wrong. I totally disagree with the police. I totally disagree with the governor.
These taxis were impounded by the police for blocking the roads. For 2 days, they have been here without earning any revenue to their owners. Their owners risk a fine of 50,000 shillings or 1 year in jail for obstruction. And should the Cabinet Secretary for Transport live by his words and withdraw their licenses, then the owners are in for a road shock. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
Well, the breathalyzer test, or alcoblow as it's commonly known, is the topic of our big question tonight. We're asking you whether you think it is helping the fight against road carnage. Let's take a look at some of your comments quickly. One here from a gentleman called Njeri Kimuhu, who says, at the least, it is instilling discipline in Kenyans, and he thinks, yes, it is definitely helping.
A lot of people have a say or an opinion on this particular issue. Maingandodhia says, in caps, no it is, but it is depressing drivers and getting corruption. We need other effective measures. Keep sending those SMSs to the number 22155 on Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at Kachungira, and at KTN Kenya. And you're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll take a quick break, but don't go too far. We'll be back shortly with more news.
Just ahead, Nyeri Hospital now blames mother for her baby's death.
You're watching KTN Prime.
You're watching KTN Prime. Welcome back to the program.
Next tonight, the Nyeri County government has absolved the Nyeri Provincial General Hospital of any wrongdoing following the death of a newborn baby in the facility earlier this year. Now, according to reports released by the County Health Minister, the blame lies squarely on the baby's mother. Betty Kialo has the details.
That the mother conduct during labor contributed largely to the death of the baby. She never made any attempt to cushion the baby from falling down at all.
This matter-of-fact statement from the Nyeri County Health Executive now shifts blame to Charity Wanjiku, who lost her newborn at the Nyeri Provincial General Hospital in January this year. According to investigations by the county government, Wanjiku failed to follow instructions that were given by the nurses on that fateful night.
Should she have followed the advice to stay on bed, the baby could not have died.
Additionally, the investigations team blamed the mother for the death, saying because she was a second-time mother and had gone through antenatal classes, she should have known what to do during labor. When KTN broke the story in January, a distraught Wanjiku said that the nurses were inattentive and ignored her cries for help.
Nikaenda nikapata nasi zote walikuanga wamelala, hata nini student wengine walikuanga huko bado walikuwa wamelala. Tukakaa hapo, kiwaita bado wamelala. Nikaita nasi walikuanga tu hapo tu karibu. Nikamwambia daktari, mtoto anataka kuanguka. Wakaigno, hawakukuja. Mara hiyo tu mtoto akaanguka.
At the time, the hospital administration, led by the medical superintendent Silas Njoroge, admitted that the unfortunate incident did occur and blamed it on shortage of personnel.
We have around 250 nurses in the whole hospital. Okay? And ideally, we are supposed to be having almost 600 nurses.
The county health executive has since cleared the hospital of any wrongdoing, blaming the death squarely on the mother.
The hospital and the health staff should therefore be absolved for the death of the baby.
It has been more than a month since Charity lost her baby boy, and she still struggles to come to terms with her loss. Betty Kialo, KTN.
Let's switch gears a bit now. The Orange Democratic Movement today expanded the membership of the Interim Transitional Committee. This has now brought together the two factions in last Friday's botched party elections. Budalangi MP Ababu Namwamba and Senator Dr. Agnes Zani, who are both eyeing the Secretary General's post, will be joint secretaries to the Interim Committee. Rita Tinina has the latest from Orange House.
After last Friday's election chaos that nearly tore the party apart,
ODM's National Governing Council on Monday constituted an interim transitional committee to manage the affairs of the party. Now, the party has expanded the membership of the interim committee in a move seen as seeking a win-win situation to accommodate the two factions gunning for positions in the party. Ali Hassan Joho and his opponent, Wycliffe Oparanya, who was seeking the position of deputy party leader, will jointly chair the interim committee. Ababu Namwamba and Dr. Agnes Zani, who are gunning for the Secretary General's position, will be joint secretaries to the interim committee. In the committee's membership, Ali Hassan Joho will alternate with Thomas Mwadegu, while Wycliffe Oparanya will alternate with Paulo Tuoma. 4 new members, Josephat Nanok and Rosa Buyu from the Ababu Namwamba team, and Agnes Zani and Timothy Bosire have been added. Other members of the committee are Otieno Kajwang, Abdikadir Aden, and Adan Kainan. The National Governing Council also set up a 5-member team chaired by Jothan Nyakuri to investigate the Kasarani election chaos.
Kuna kazi kubwa. Kwa hivyo tutapenda kuona kama wamefanya kazi yao kwa njia ya haraka, alafu wapee ripoti yao, kazi yao ikimalizika. Kwa hivyo siwezi kuambia ni wiki moja, mwezi moja au miezi miwili. Wacha tuangalie vile wataendelea na kazi yao.
The interim committee has a mandate to, among other things, set the date and venue of the National Delegates Conference for fresh party elections. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Now, we do have a special ongoing segment on the Jubilee anniversary 1 year on. Let's go to that now. The Jubilee government did promise to offer quality and affordable healthcare to all.
However, a year later, many questions still remain about access to healthcare for ordinary Kenyans. Karonderi has that report on the Jubilee scorecard.
As with every promise made, one has to be held accountable, and the spotlight is now on the Jubilee government a year later. During the colorful launch of its manifesto, quality and accessible healthcare for all was a mantra that the Jubilee government promised to live by if elected to power. A year later, does the promise hold? The abolition of the maternity fee is considered a plus for the government, as more women can now access free maternity care, so much so that recently in Taita Taveta it was reported that women were crossing the border from Tanzania to deliver their babies in Kenya, where it would cost them nothing to do so. And while free maternity care is a step in the right direction, those in the sector feel this does not quite scratch the surface. Kamau Gatweshi has been in the health sector for over a decade and feels more should be done to tie the loose ends.
We are not seeing a deliberate attempt from this government to actually ensure that we have more nurses offering these services.
In a campaign spearheaded by the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, dubbed Beyond Zero, quality maternal care taken as a vision that can be accomplished. Corporates, Standard Group included, had by last week raised over 44 million Kenya shillings to go to the Beyond Zero campaign. Recently, 2 public hospitals were in the limelight for the wrong reasons. The unfortunate incident of a woman delivering on the floor at the Bungoma District Hospital is still fresh in people's minds. So is the more recent one of a mother who lost her baby in January at the Nyeri Provincial General Hospital. The baby allegedly fell from the womb to the floor during labor. The hospital's medical superintendent had attributed the problem to a shortage of personnel. The devolution of health services has not been appealing to some, as evidenced by the recent strike of medics, with others saying it is a welcome move that will inject new life into the health sector.
Improving health is one of the functions that will benefit the ordinary citizen.
The promise of affordable health care is still a pipe dream to many Kenyans who earn low incomes.
Upande wa X-ray, upande wa CT scan, iweze kuleta hiyo mashini na pia kuongeza wahudumu.
So is the access to facilities. Diagnosed cases of cancer being on the rise, but facilities that offer treatment such as chemotherapy and radiotherapy are not accessible to many.
Sasa mtu wa Nyeri analazimika kusafiri kutoka Nyeri hadi Nairobi kupata dialysis.
Kenyans could also do with the establishment of more health centers
and make healthcare affordable to a common mwananchi.
In the Jubilee report card, how would the Kenyan taxpayer rate the government in the health sector? Is it satisfactory or are there loopholes? And if so, which are they? 1 year down, 4 more to go for Kenyans to see if the Jubilee government will fulfill the promises laid out in the Jubilee manifesto. Carol Derry for KTN in Nyeri.
Let's take you to a big question tonight. We are talking about the alcohol blow or breathalyzers. We are asking you tonight, do you think the use of alcohol blow has reduced road carnage, has helped the fight against road carnage in Kenya? We are still taking a look at your views, and somebody here, Alfred Marcella, says the alcohol blow is absolute nonsense, a recipe for many other ladies, since it is sanitarily incorrect. That's what he meant, I believe.
Right. Well, this view from Lanzem is the polar opposite. He says yes, or she says yes. Sanity needed to be restored on our roads. Too many loved ones lost unnecessarily. We'll keep those views coming. Of course, we'll take a look at the poll result towards the end of the bulletin. Right now, though, we take a quick break. I'll be back with business. Don't go too far. Welcome back. This is Business on KTN Prime. Kenya Power has reviewed connection fees for consumers in a move that is likely to reignite debate. The firm, however, defends itself, noting that the high costs of its raw materials is what has actually forced it to increase the connection fees. Philip KTN looks into the matter.
In August last year, Kenya Power announced that it was cutting down on power connection to rural areas after a cabinet directive backing the 35,000 shillings connection fee for single-phase consumers. However, in the new rates it has announced, the utility firm says it will be charging the 35,000 shillings fee for only consumers at the last mile. For those consumers outside the specification, the listed firm notes that the connection fee will be in excess of 135,000 shillings. KTN Business has learned that the decision by the firm was largely informed by the high cost of its raw materials, among them copper cables and poles. Additionally, government subsidy previously in place to support the single-phase 35,000 shillings connection fee has expired. The firm also says it will be sending revised payment plans for consumers who had already paid the previous connection fees but falls outside the last mile description. In January 2013, the power distributor had discreetly doubled electricity connection charges to 75,000 shillings for single-phase connections connected within 600-meter radius of the transformer. The cost of a three-phase connection also rose to 85,000 shillings from 49,080 shillings. The decision was, however, revoked following public outcry and a cabinet directive. Philip Keitan, KTN Business.
Well, the cost of connection just got higher. Let's talk about another kind of connection now. Even before the dust settles on the planned sale of U-Mobile to rival Safaricom and Airtel Kenya, reports indicate that France Telecom, the majority shareholder in Orange Telecom Kenya, could be setting the stage for an exit from its African operations.
According to TMT Finance, the French telecom giant Orange has already engaged the services of a transactional advisory firm, Lazard, to guide its exit from Africa. The news outlet adds that Uganda will be the first market with a buy already being scouted. The brief, the source also notes, will extend into Kenya, DRC, and Niger, where the firm does not enjoy pole positions in terms of the market share. For Orange Telecom Kenya, the pressure analysts reckon is expected to grow following the planned exit of U-Mobile, leaving it vulnerable.
If you look at Orange, I'm left to wonder how they're going to get more subscribers. I think they could decide also to either focus on either other value-added services if you look at the other players looking to come into the sector.
In its latest market share statistics, industry regulator placed Orange Telecom fourth in market share at 1.7 million subscribers, behind market leader Safaricom, Airtel Kenya and U-Mobile. But of significance to a number of consumers, is whether the intricacies in the mobile market will have an impact on them.
This is really consolidation, and consolidation, given that the sector has not been extremely profitable, except for the one main player, it means tariffs, I think, will remain stable. We're probably not going to see tariff reductions. I think going forward, we're probably even going to see maybe much more, maybe tariffs may be going higher, maybe very slightly, or at least the promotional activity easing somewhat, so that the other players can also become more profitable.
The telecommunications sector still looks attractive for new players, though the Communication Commission of Kenya may not allocate any new frequencies. This leaves prospective investors with the option of investing as mobile virtual network operators using the existing frequencies.
At the moment, the regulator is unlikely to license more players. The consolidation that we are seeing is actually positive for sector profitability. The players we're going to see licensed, and I think this is still awaiting approval, are the MVNOs, which are going to operate on top of the mobile network operators.
More important, product diversification and delivering services to a niche market will be key if any success is to be realized by a new player in the telecom business.
If you have some ideas on how to move the nation forward, over the next 1 month, Kenyans will have an opportunity to submit their proposals to the National Treasury for inclusion in the 2014-2015 financial year budget preparation. Michael Karanja tells us more about that.
The first budget under Jubilee administration has in the last 3 quarters attracted a lot of attention on its size and implementation. At 1.7 trillion shillings, the budget was largely committed to recurrent expenditure, an issue that private sector players say they will be keen to see on how the state navigates as well as taming wasteful expenditure. However, in calling for proposals for the 2014-2015 fiscal budget, Treasury, among other things, is seeking suggestions on how to create an enabling space for businesses to operate in. This is tied to proposals on structural and governance reforms required for speeding growth. Treasury is also looking to attract investment in the transport and infrastructure sector based on partnerships. Specifically, Treasury wants proposals on how to modernize seaports, airports, and other key infrastructure, mainly in the oil and energy sectors. On healthcare, a key pillar during Jubilee campaigns, the state is seeking proposals on how the private sector can be tapped to improve the healthcare system. Taxation has been a major bone of contention between the private sector and government, and it is no wonder proposals on further reforms in the tax system are being sought to ensure revenue productivity, tax efficiency, and equitable fair share of the tax burden. But with devolution now firmly rooted, the Federation of Kenyan Employers says there needs to be more direction on what rates and levies county governments are able to change. Treasury hopes to receive the proposals by the end of March to enable it meet its constitutional threshold on public consultations in the budget-making process. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
Now let's take a look at how the financial markets fared today.
Well, let's revisit our top story tonight, where a village is reeling in shock after a 35-year-old man killed his wife and 2 children before hanging himself in Muhoroni. The tragic events in the county of Kisumu are said to have followed a domestic quarrel. The man is alleged to have dumped the bodies of his family members in a nearby river before he climbed up a tree and committed suicide.
You're watching KTN Prime. We take a quick break, but we come back with all the sporting action, so keep it here.
Welcome to Sports. Now we start with some golf. And Spaniard Alvaro Velasco has taken a one-shot lead heading into day 2 of the Barclays Kenya Open Golf Tournament that started this morning at the Current Golf and Country Club. Velasco posted a 6 under par, a 66 for his opening lead. Denmark's Lars Jensen and South African Hayden Porteous are tied for second on 5 under par, 67. Kenya's Dismas Indiza and Nicholas Rokoine were left with a fighting chance, but Greg Snow finished the day as the best placed Kenyan after posting 2 under par, 70.
The 72 Park Current Golf Club once again welcomed the cream of golf in the European Tour. Day 1 was so competitive, and Sunday will define who among the bursting field will clone the popular $1 million top prize. Making the cut is the key for most of the golfers who will be looking forward for an easy day 2 after an opening day where every player attempted to remain among the top. The winds in Karen proved to be an obstacle to many competitors, and the course changed to the most of the golfers, especially Kenyans who are familiar with the course. Dismas Indiza, who is another hope for the Kenyans, struggled while defending champion Jordi Garcia Pinto of Spain finished the day in tied in position 34 on 1 under par 71 and faces an uphill task if he's to mount a successful comeback to the top. To some of the visiting players, the experience in Kenya is taking a toll on them, and nothing seems to be a soft landing. The Spaniard Alvaro Velasco will be hoping to extend his lead tomorrow in the unpredictable 2014 edition. Greg Snow, who came so close last year, is the best placed Kenyan after posting a 2 under par 70 to finish 18th overall alongside defending champion Jordi Garcia Pinto. Nicholas Rokoine finished in position 34 on under par 71 and is the second placed Kenyan. Nicholas Mudimba, KTN Sports.
I've seen reports on Twitter that it is raining here in Nairobi, hoping that the players will be hoping that the rain will not affect the putting greens at Current Golf Club. Now, in football, Alan Wanga, Peter Opio, and Noah Fuller will be available for selection during FC Leopards' return CAF Confederations Cup match against Supersport United this weekend. Wanga, who inspired Leopards to qualify for the second round, missed last weekend's first leg in South Africa. The Leopards, just like Gor Mahia, must win the return match against Matatu comprehensively to advance to the third round.
After losing by 2-0 in their first round of the CAF Confederation Cup last weekend at the Lucas Morepe Stadium in South Africa, AFC Leopards will be out to revenge that and condemn Supersports United to a second round exit. The Leopards have their work cut out for them, and it was evident during their Thursday training that they are all focused for victory at home.
Kitu tunawakon ni ile strength yetu as of we believe tunaweza kaget hizo bao mbili at least within the first half.
The Leopards must win by 3 goals to advance, and they say that is achievable, also following the return to fitness of their final lethal striker Alan Wanga, who missed the first match with a knee injury. Noah Wafula, Peter Pinches Opio, and Abdallah Juma, who missed the first leg, will also be available to add punch and aggression.
I'm trying to get back my fitness by Sunday, and I believe I'm going to pull through, and come Sunday I'll be 100% good to go.
Obvious captain akiwa kwa team, then ina mean atapata na ile motivation zaidi. So ye kama injury yake itakuwa sustain, akwe kwa ile first 11, I believe ata push the team to the next level, which tuna need sana.
Goalkeeper Wycliffe Kasaya, defender James Situma, and Peter Opio, who are in the Harambee Stars squad to their aborted friendly with Sudan, rejoined their side for the Thursday's training. Paul Were and striker Jacob Kelly missed the morning session.
Tumecheza pamoja kwa muda mrefu, so sidhani kama kukosa kwa mazoezi siku moja mbili inaweza leta shida yoyote. Naamini kama so long as tumefika, wale wachezaji ambao kocha atachukua wakilisha timu siku ya Jumapili, then najua watakuwa tayari kutoa matokeo.
Gor Mahia will also have a hard task as they head north for the return leg of the round 1 encounter against host Esperance. At home, the Leopards then will be relying on the attacking punch from the now fit Alan Wanga, Jacob Kelly, and youngster Mai Hamati, who will be leading the Leopards then in search for goals. Moses Wahisi, KTN Sports.
7 media teams will take part in a 5-a-side football tournament where winners will travel to Anfield. Now, the tournament, dubbed 2014 Standard Chartered Road to Anfield, will see a total of 32 teams with 5 from the Bank Lockhorns on the weekend of 15th and 16th March. The defending champion Standard Media Group has been pooled in Group B, while Nation Media Group and Royal Media Services will be in Pool A and C respectively. The winning team will compete against 13 other teams from other countries.
The winning team will attend an English Premier League match at Anfield, and it will benefit from a professional training session with Liverpool legends and coaches to help it to prepare for the final. Now, this, I must say, is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for any football fan, and we are delighted that we are giving our staff and the media this great opportunity.
Association with Mortein Doom Cockroach Killer. Cracks where cockroaches hide, use Mortein Doom Power Guard in drains to kill them before they come out. Spray Mortein Doom Power Guard in dustbins too. Mortein Doom! The ultimate cockroach killer.
Well, as we wrap up this bulletin, a gang of daring cattle raiders attacked Masai Manyata in Naivasha and held hostage one cattle keeper for over 10 hours as they selected the best heads of cattle to slaughter.
Now, the attackers gave the owner a thorough beating, tied him down, and proceeded to choose 5 of the best cows, which they then slaughtered just meters away from the Manyata.
At around 4 a.m. this morning, they carted away the meat, leaving behind intestines, hooves and heads.
Leftovers were abandoned by the Nakuru-Nairobi highway near the DTI farm.
Nafunga mimi mkono, utafunga mguu, narudi pande hii, narudi mkono pande hii. Kila pahali, narudi mguu namna hiyo. Unaleta kamba na onda namaliza mdomo. Unaweka unafunga hapa. Utabeba kama maiti kurasa.
Tunahitaji security kwa sababu hatuna security. Hata OSPD hatuna security. Na kama mambo itakuwa inaendelea hivi, tunaweza sema mambo si mzuri. Kwa sababu sisi tukiwa wafugaji, sisi ni watu tunaweza kaa kila mahali kwa sababu ya kutafutia ng'ombe zetu nyasi. Na hiki kitu imetukera sana. Ile kitu tunauliza serikali. Hasa serikali ya Naivasha administration. Hapa kumekuwa na kisa nyingi. Watu wanauawa kwa petrol station, hakuna hatua inachukuliwa. Bunda zinachinjwa kwa barabara. Ng'ombe zinachinjwa kwa barabara. Kweli Naivasha kumekuwa nini?
Poor herders there. Now let's take you to our big question tonight.